I'll do is it's a bit of a loud traffic-wise, so we'll just take a quick shot out here so we can see what we're talking about. But we will move in a little bit just to get away from this beautiful, busy Delgany traffic.
Well, as I say, here's the main entrance.
Now, yeah, if we come inside so we don't end up with the cars.
This is the main entrance to the Latouche's house. Now it's the entrance to Delgany Golf Course.
Now there was we spoke about the Burnaby house before. There was quite a few entrances. Was there 5 or 6 altogether?
Well, there was 5 entrances to the Latouche estate.
Right.
This was the main one, and there was 2 gate lodges each side, and families lived in it over the periods of different time. You know,
right.
Those McLaughlins and the Bournes lived in it when my mother was a young girl.
Now this is this building here, and we have one on the opposite side as well.
Yeah,
they actually lived in, were they?
Yeah, gate lodges.
Amazing. We might take a walk in towards just to have a look at the actual size.
As you can see, the lions, and as you know, the lions on the walls, they are actually female. They're not actually male lions.
Right.
Whatever.
Right.
But as I say, back in the 17th century, 1754, when the house was built itself. But as I say.
We'll step in. Now, if you come the same way, it's always easier. Jeez, if I said to you up, you'd go down. Get over here, you feck. Get over off the road, you big idiot. What the?
As I say, for people at the time in the early 18th century, coming the laneways and observing those lions must have been frightening.
Well, I think they're kind of mellowed out. They're female. They're not roaring.
Ordinary Joe Soaps or ordinary people at the time, and they were used to observing cows and sheep and dogs and things like that. But to see these lions, there must have been quite.
Well, I would have
at the time, you know.
But I'm guessing the purpose was not in any way
frightening.
No, I don't think the purpose was because they would have obviously gone for more of aggressive appearance. So I think.
Well, as I said before, there is symbolism of power from the Greeks to the Romans. All periods of society, past tense, use the lion as symbolism of power.
We'll take a walk in just to have a look at the. I've often been here as a kid, but just the size is so small. It's amazing to think now that people would have lived here. I assume there was like a guard's gate, or that somebody wouldn't actually live.
It's the wild garlic. You can eat that.
Right.
Lovely in salad.
Right, that's the main thing now. We're doing gardening now. Get the feck in there, you bollocks, you. Jeez. Have you got plants growing up here, Shay?
No.
Are you sure? Just to make sure we don't want to stumble upon them now. Give it away. Yeah.
So
you reckon? Well, it's hard to tell. That was that a single story? Was it 2-story? It's quite a.
No, I'd say quite possibly 2-story.
Right, and you reckon both were like house living quarters for the lodge,
gate lodges.
Gate lodges, right?
Gate lodges.
And why 2 rather than 1? Do you think?
Periods of time. I'm going back maybe 50, 100 years ago.
Right.
Would have been the McLaughlins.
Right.
And people called Bournes, which still live around.
I think I've heard of a few Bournes around here, right?
Yeah.
Are there a few Bournes still in Wicklow? Are you sure? I haven't heard of any burns. I'll check. I'll Google that. I'll Google it and see if I can find. I'll try and find a burn around here.
They find the burn around the village of Delgany.
That's it.
But as
Slow
I
burn.
say, and then where the flyover is now in Delgany.
Yeah,
that was
down at Barry's
Bridge.
And who is the Barry of Barry's Bridge? I've always known it as Barry's Bridge myself. But do you know the name? Where the name comes from?
Barry, there'll be something in history, going down. There probably
You're
people
smart.
called.
Possibly called Barry, I would think.
Lived there.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to guess as well.
There was a woman in the 60s when I was a young lad used to live there. Her name was Miss Tissel.
Okay.
Miss Tissel.
Right.
Very rare name. She lived in the cottage where the flyover is now.
Right. And the great Sean O'Connell, of course, his family were there. The great late great Sean O'Connell.
And then you had McLindens. They were the forge.
Right.
Used to do the horses. That was just down up from it.
Okay.
It's on the road.
Now, we passed a small gate on the way to, which we took a photograph of. That was just access, was it like a pedestrian access to...
that was called the Dogs Gates.
Okay.
Because people, and my grandfather, when he was the pro in Delgany, and then all people that followed him, that was handy for them to walk the glen and come over and just go up. It was a shortcut.
Right.
And then people might come out from Dublin on the bus to play golf, and they'd walk the glen to the golf gates.
Right.
And you're up into the clubhouse in 2 minutes.
Okay.
It was a shortcut.
Now, we won't dwell on it, but I've always fascinated. My father worked here for many years as a gardener and loved it, and he'd always go up and down on his moped. Now, I was thinking we might have a little look down at the building, Shay, just to see the size of it from just this scale of down here.
Check it
But
out, Jay.
yeah, but he was amazed. Well, as we all were amazed to find out that he was.
Well, when the place was built in 1754, obviously these either went before it or came after it.
You are good. I'll tell you that now.
Yeah.
I think I get 10 points for that one. Maybe at the same time. Could be the same time. There's three options:
And then
either before it or after it, or at the same time.
Well, I'd say we probably done at the same time.
Have you ever done University Challenge? No. Or Universally Challenged?
I've done the Kerry
You could do
one.
Universally Challenged.
I've done the Kerry one.
Ah, okay, right. We'll have a look at that. I just want to see the size now of the Rose of Tralee. I'd say, if you got a chance, I'm sure you would do. Ah, here we go. Right. Incredible. I see a fireplace. I guess. Yeah, that would be the fireplace. Wow. So it's amazing to think now, that given the scale of it and the size, that it was a living quarters. Because you know what, you don't need much space to live, but
Years ago, people.
but if a family were there.
Years ago, people were once they had a roof over.
It's very small. You sure it wasn't the Clear family castle or something like that? Because you know.
Our castle goes back to Bunratty Castle.
All right.
Thomas de Clare.
Okay.
1273.
Was it Black Castle, the wine, or no?
And then the O'Briens, the O'Byrnes, who were clans, took it over in the 13th century.
Ah, right. Very nice.
De Clare. It comes de Clare.
No, I know you're a little bit sensitive about it, but given that it was like 40 years ago or plus, it's kind of just a little bit of a funny story. The fact that, as I said, my father, who come up here so often, he and the whole town were stunned to realise that a major heist, all the stash, was just up here in the woods on the driveway up to the club. None of it left. If anybody's thinking, well, I might go and have a look and see if somebody dropped something. But that kind of curious little tale. I always find that just the idea that they would choose here. They knew that nobody would stop. Basically, they assumed nobody would stop on this lane.
At the time, so we must
All
be
right.
going back 40 years.
Yeah, I'm thinking. Yeah, I'll check it on good old Google.
And the guards were here for several days, if not a week, searching
Right.
the place. They found several items in the forestry
Right.
that was stolen, and a lot of the stuff from Maynooth has never been found.
Okay.
Rings and etc.
Holy moly, it could be out there.
I don't know too much detail now. 'cause
Yeah.
I wasn't-
Well, it's a long time ago since you did that job, so
Well, it was
the
a
old
long
memory
time
goes. And
since the
when you
people-
spent all that money, you had such a good time. You wiped pretty much all of it from your
I'm very
memory.
saintly, I keep myself. But as I say,
You haven't been at the clerical look about you. Have you ever thought about the priesthood?
very
I think you'd make a great
no,
parish
a pope.
priest.
I wouldn't go into the
Pope,
priest.
yeah,
I'd
go
like
straight to
be
the
a
top. Why would you do all
go
that,
to the top.
horsing around with cardinals and archbishops and all that? But yeah, I will say it's always been a stunning,
That's the
stunning
main
entrance to any house. But yeah,
yeah.
the idea that this was once, and we've covered it. We'll link it to the Burnaby, the Bellevue estate for the.
Well, that's the
for
main
tuition.
entrance now. You go
Right.
right up, and it's about 400, 500, 600 yards up to where we filmed before.
Right.
The main thing. So,
Yeah.
as I say, that this was the main entrance, and then up beside where I live, and then at the top of the road was the Dublin gates.
Yes.
And then down at Barry's Bridge, there was another gate,
Right.
side entrance, and then over in the Glen of the Downs, up near the Glenview, there was another thatched cottage in there, where people would come out of a Sunday. In later years, they'd come out for afternoon teas. And
And all that amount of gates.
my mother would remember that.
Right.
She
But
remembers
that amount of gates out of a place, all that many driveways, were they worried that the drug squad would suddenly try to call it all these different options to get the hell out
That
of there?
was
or-
their boundary. That was their
Right.
boundary.
Yeah.
And as I say, all the place would have been full of animals, and the golf course didn't exist. That would have been old trees and
Sure,
forestry.
sure, yeah.
And bower. I'd say there was bower.
Yeah. Well, there's the one right here now.
Pheasant
I'll tell you.
and deer, etc. So, great. So you can imagine the coaches back
Yeah.
in the 17th century coming down. It was very rare then. Very, as I say, you have old coaches, and then they widened the roads.
Of
from
course,
there.
of
Then
course.
they built the church, and they built half of Delgany.
Yeah. Well, they did a lot of great work. They really did.
Well,
They pimped the place pretty nice.
Well, they opened up the place, I'd say.
Yeah.
And the old graveyard, which we've done before in Delgany, the entrance to that was at the back of that.
Ah, okay.
So in later years, say the mid-1800s, and
The gate was put on the front.
was put on the front.
Okay.
And then, can you imagine all the headstones that are in there? and some of the big headstones that are there to this day,
Yeah.
how they managed to get them from quarries to there, and
Oh, yeah.
stonemasons. So you had ass and cart and men, physical power.
Well,
to do
Catholics
that.
are great workers, though. I think that's been proven
Well,
again and
there's plenty
again.
of work for people.
That's it.
Yeah.
And we're hard workers.
But as
I'll tell ya.
I say,
I say. Is that, are you going
but the
to do what you-
travel
Oh,
and down in the Glen of the Downs, near
Yeah.
where the Eco Warriors were,
yeah.
there's a place there where there must have been a quarry, stone.
Right.
And then as you go across to the opposite side of the Octagon, some people call it the Hangman's Rock,
Okay.
etc. There hasn't been a bit of history to that. But it's like all the loose stone underneath that had been taken and quarried.
Right.
So to
right.
build, I'd say some of the Latouches, when they were building, got some of the stone from actually around the area.
Right.
You know what I
okay,
mean?
yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah.
If
No,
you
they
walk
would
into
have
the-
had to naturally. I think
Yeah, to bring
you'd try
stone.
to find as close as possible the source for your materials, and
Well, then the
I'm sure they
famine
changed the
kind of-
landscape hugely. Really, you know. I mean, it's
so
still.
when the famine arrived in the 18th century, 1880, 46, whatever,
Yeah.
all the estates in Ireland were built with solid walls to give people work, you know.
Right.
All the
right.
people
Right.
they built and they kept them going.
Smart move. They last.
Well, they did actually.
Nice.
If you go to anywhere in Ireland now, you'll find all the estates with all the walls around them. They
Sure.
were
Sure.
all
No,
built.
that works. Beautiful.
Hard times, I'd say.
Well, we'll link, as I said, to the previous little piece about Bellevue, and hopefully over the time we'll end up with a good jigsaw puzzle of the entire village, because as we do each area, we can kind of join it to the other stories we've
built
covered.
a
But
church from there.
nicely done. Yeah.